In the far reaches of the galaxy, people lived on thousands of worlds, but very few remembered where their kind had truly come from. Most believed that Earth, the first home of humankind, was gone forever, destroyed in a time so long ago that no one could even remember the truth anymore. The history book said that after the Great Cataclysm, the planet had vanished, swallowed by wars and storms of fire. Some said it had fallen into the sun. Others whispered that it had been wiped out by its own people. For most, Earth had become nothing more than a sad story told by old dreamers. The humans who lived now were spread across the stars. They had built cities on alien worlds, shared their bloodlines with other species, and called dozens of planets home. They had forgotten the blue oceans and green lands of their origin. Even the word Earth felt strange in their mouths, like a myth too old to be real. Many children grew up thinking their ancestors had simply come from the stars themselves. The idea that humans had once been born on a single small world sounded almost impossible. Still, a few old scholars refused to believe that Earth was truly lost. They gathered in quiet corners of libraries on distant colonies and whispered of the homeworld. They searched ancient star maps, faded recordings, and long-dead computer archives, hoping to find one piece of truth. But no matter how hard they searched, the records always ended the same way. Silence. No coordinates, no clear evidence, just broken files and corrupted data. The cataclysm had wiped out nearly everything. Leaving behind only fragments of memory, humanity had changed much in the 20,000 years since then. They had adapted to strange atmospheres, new gravities, and alien neighbors. Some had skin like bronze glass from living under bright suns. Others had grown pale and thin from life in shadowed worlds. They called themselves by new names: Solarians, Terrans, Hominids, Starborn. Yet none truly remembered what being human once meant. Their history was scattered like dust, and the story of Earth was the most fragile grain of all, across the galaxy. Other species spoke of humans with mixed feelings. Some admired their courage and creativity. Others remembered the wars of the past, the times when humans had fought with unmatched fury. They said humans were unpredictable, both gentle and dangerous, quick to build and quicker to destroy. But without Earth, they had no roots, no home to remind them of who they once were. They were wanderers now, brilliant, restless, and always searching for something they could not name. Among the great powers of the galaxy, the Dominion Concord ruled as the strongest. It was a council of hundreds of worlds led by ancient races that valued order and peace. To them, humans were just another species, clever but chaotic, useful but untrustworthy. The Concord archives listed Earth under the category of extinct origin worlds, a forgotten planet that no longer mattered. And since no one had seen it for 20,000 years, no one argued against it. Yet in the quiet of space, rumors still traveled. Some travelers spoke of a blue planet glimpsed beyond forbidden zones. Others told of old ships drifting near collapsed stars, marked with strange human symbols. There were even tales of voices, faint radio whispers, repeating words in a dead language that no one could understand. Most dismissed these as cosmic noise, tricks of static or imagination. But a few, the dreamers and wanderers, could not stop wondering. One such dreamer was a young woman named Alara Voss, born on the edge of the Veil Nebula. Her grandmother used to tell her bedtime stories about Earth, about oceans that glowed under the moon, about forests that sang when the wind passed through them, about cities that touched the clouds. Alara used to close her eyes and imagine it all. She dreamed of the smell of rain, though she had never seen a real storm. She dreamed of walking barefoot on soil instead of metal decks. As she grew older, those dreams became questions. Why had no one ever tried to find Earth again? What really happened to it? Was it truly gone, or simply hidden? The more she studied, the more she found small, strange details in old records. Star charts with missing coordinates, files that had been locked by forgotten security codes, fragments of poetry that seemed to hide messages. It was as if someone long ago had wanted the world to be forgotten on purpose. And somewhere, in the endless dark between the stars, something waited. The truth about Earth had not vanished. It was sleeping, deep, silent, and patient, waiting for the right moment to return. Humanity had forgotten its birthplace, but the home world had not forgotten them. It remembered every name, every promise, and every star that had once looked down upon its blue surface. And soon after 20,000 years, that silence would begin to break. It began as a small flicker on the edge of a sensor screen, something so faint that most systems would have ignored it. The signal was weak, ancient, and buried deep under layers of cosmic static. A lone exploration probe drifting near the Veil Nebula caught it by accident. For days it struggled to decode the strange pulse, and when it finally did, it found something that should have been impossible. The transmission carried a pattern that hadn't been seen in 20,000 years, a human communication code from the time before the fall. At first, no one believed it. The engineers who examined the data thought it was a malfunction, a random echo from an old satellite. But when they filtered out the noise, the signal became clearer, repeating the same message over and over again. Only 2 words transmitted in a language long dead. "We endure." The phrase sent a chill through every human who heard it. For centuries, people had used those same words as a symbol of human stubbornness, a reminder of how they had survived everything from wars to extinction. But to hear it coming from deep space in the original Terran frequency was something else entirely. The Dominion Concord received the report, but most of its council dismissed it. They called it superstition, a trick of radiation. They said humans had always been sentimental about their lost planet. A few scientists, however, couldn't ignore the math. The signal's decay rate, frequency drift, and harmonic patterns all pointed to one truth. It was not random. It was real and very, very old. Across the human colonies, whispers began to spread. News of the signal reached the outer systems, and soon, talk of the voice of Earth filled taverns, data networks, and classrooms. Pilots on long-haul cargo ships replayed the message through their headsets, wondering if someone somewhere was still alive on the old homeworld. Religious groups declared it a sign, saying the mother planet was calling her children home. Others said it was a trap, an old war relic still transmitting after all this time, waiting to lure the curious to their doom. On the world of Lyra 9, a research academy dedicated to xenoarchaeology, received the signal's data. Among its scientists was Captain Alara Voss, half human, half Valari, known for her obsession with lost civilizations. She spent nights poring over the signal's waveform, adjusting filters, mapping its rhythm. She realized that the message was not just a distress call. It was a beacon, a pulse designed to be found every 22.3 hours. The frequency repeated in perfect intervals like a heartbeat frozen in time. Alara presented her findings to the Dominion Science Council. She argued that the signal originated near a dead star beyond the Veil Nebula, a region considered uncharted and dangerous. The council members frowned and exchanged doubtful glances. The Veil was known for swallowing ships, its gravity tides unpredictable, and its magnetic storms violent. But Alara's voice trembled with conviction as she said, "This isn't a random signal. It's a human voice calling across time." Still, politics made everything slow. The Concord had little interest in chasing old myths, and human matters were rarely their priority. But word spread through unofficial channels, and soon, explorers, smugglers, and privateers began plotting their own routes toward the coordinates. Some wanted glory, others treasure, and some, like Alara, wanted answers. Meanwhile, deep in space, the signal continued. The beacon had been transmitting for so long that it had become part of the background radiation of the galaxy. Yet somehow, after all these ages, it was still running, its ancient systems powered by unknown energy. Each pulse carried fragments of encrypted data, traces of an identification code that matched the Terran Stellar Navy. That discovery changed everything. The Terran Navy had disappeared in the final war, wiped from history, and now, one of its vessels seemed to be calling home. Alara watched the decoded data scroll across her screen and felt her heart race. The last line of the signal file read, "Origin unknown system, source ID, TSS Titanus." That name was legendary among historians. The Titanus was said to be one of the final warships built before Earth's fall, a fortress ship designed to protect the planet itself. No one had ever found evidence it survived. Until now. The moment she read the name, she knew what she had to do. She gathered a crew of specialists and petitioned for a ship to investigate. The Concord refused to fund her mission. calling it a fool's chase into a dead sector. So she turned to private sponsors, those who still believed in the old human stories. Within weeks, she had her vessel, Peregrine's Reach, ready for departure. Before leaving, she stood on the observation deck of Lyra 9 and gazed at the distant stars. Somewhere out there, a voice from Earth was still speaking, waiting to be heard. The thought filled her with both wonder and fear. What if the signal was a warning, not a greeting? What if something ancient had survived, not human, but something else that had once shared their skies? As her ship lifted into the void, the words of the message echoed in her mind. We endure. It wasn't just a phrase anymore. It was a promise written in the stars, a heartbeat from the past refusing to fade, and though she didn't know it yet, that tiny flicker of sound would change everything the galaxy thought it knew about humanity and about Earth itself. The journey through the Veil Nebula was not an easy one. The stars around it were dim and distorted, their light stretched and twisted by invisible gravity waves. The Peregrine's Reach moved slowly, its shields flickering as it pushed through clouds of ionized gas that glowed faintly purple and gold. The deeper they went, the more their instruments began to fail. Communications dropped, scanners gave false readings, and even the navigation AI started to drift. But Captain Alira Voss refused to turn back. She had studied the path for months, calculating every possible danger, and she believed the signal was close. Her crew was a strange mix of species. Scientists and adventurers. There was Dr. Halden Rice, an old human linguist who claimed to have read every surviving Terran text to core, a massive insectoid engineer from the planet Carax who treated machines like living creatures, and Loom, a small telepathic being who could sense electrical patterns across energy fields. None of them had ever worked together before, but they shared one thing: curiosity. Each of them wanted to see the truth behind the 20,000-year-old message. For days, the ship drifted in near silence. Only the hum of engines and the soft beeping of monitors filled the air. Outside, the nebula pulsed like a living ocean, bright storms of plasma flashing through the void. Then one day, the signal strengthened. The repeating pulse that had been faint and scattered suddenly grew louder, clearer. It was close now, too close to be a coincidence. Alira stood at the main display, her eyes fixed on the readings. "Track it," she said quietly. Dr. Rice adjusted the frequency filters and froze. "Captain, this can't be right," he whispered. The source was not a planet or a beacon. It was something much larger, something metallic, and it was moving, very slowly, as if drifting through space without power. They followed the signal until the nebula thinned and a shadow appeared against the faint light of a brown dwarf star. At first it looked like a mountain floating in space. Then the details emerged: a hull covered in battle scars, towers and gun batteries jutting from its surface, a long spine that stretched for kilometers. The ship was enormous, easily 10 kilometers long, ancient and silent. "By the stars," Tekor murmured, his mandibles clicking. "That's no derelict freighter." As the Peregrine's Reach moved closer, they could see markings along the hull, worn and faded but still readable. "TSS Titanus," Alira breathed. The name glowed faintly as the ship's lights reflected off the letters. Her voice trembled with disbelief. "It's real. It actually exists. The Titanus was supposed to have been lost in the final war, the war that destroyed Earth. To see it now, drifting after all this time, was like looking at a ghost from the past." They began scanning the structure. The readings made no sense. The metal alloy was stronger than anything currently known, and its energy core, though dormant, still emitted faint signals. "It's been in stasis," Loom said softly, her small form floating near the sensor console. "Sleeping. Waiting for something." Alira nodded slowly. "Waiting for us," she whispered. The crew prepared a boarding mission. They suited up in reinforced armor and guided their shuttle toward one of the massive hangar bays. The doors were half open, frozen in place as they passed through. Dust and debris floated around them like snow. The interior was dark, silent but untouched by time. The moment their boots touched the deck, the sound echoed faintly as if the ship itself was listening. Inside, everything was frozen, consoles covered in dust, chairs still turned toward viewports that hadn't seen light in millennia. There were no bodies, no signs of chaos or battle. "Just emptiness," Dr. Rice whispered. "It's like they just vanished." They moved deeper through the corridors, their lights cutting through the shadows. Strange symbols were painted on the walls, old Terran military insignias, faded but still recognizable. Then, as they entered the main command bridge, The air changed. The ship groaned softly, and a low hum began to rise through the floor. The consoles flickered to life one by one, green lights spreading like veins across the dark room. "Captain," Takor hissed. "Something's waking up." Alara raised her weapon, though she wasn't sure why. You couldn't shoot a ghost. A voice filled the air, calm and mechanical, yet oddly human. "Identify yourselves," it said, echoing through the chamber. The crew froze. The voice spoke again. Stronger this time. Terran command required. "Identify yourselves," Dr. Rice stammered. That's an AI, Captain. A live one." Alara took a breath, her pulse racing. "This is Captain Alara Voss. Of the research ship Peregrine's Reach, we come in peace." There was silence. Then the voice replied, "Authorization incomplete. Genetic confirmation required," Alara frowned. "Genetic confirmation?" Before anyone could react, a scanner beam shot from the ceiling, sweeping across the room. It paused over Alara, then blinked blue. "Partial match confirmed," the AI said slowly. "Descendant of Terran origin detected. Initiating reactivation protocol." The lights across the bridge flared to life, systems humming as if awakened from a deep dream. The crew stared in awe as ancient displays began showing data streams and star charts from a forgotten age. Alara felt chills run through her as she whispered, "It's been waiting for us. All this time." And somewhere deep within the ship's massive core, the name Titanus glowed once more, as the heartbeat of humanity began to stir again after 20,000 silent years. The air inside the massive ship felt heavy, not because of pressure, but because of age. Every wall, every bolt, every flicker of light seemed to carry the weight of forgotten centuries. The Titanus was no ordinary vessel. It was a relic from a time when humanity still ruled the stars with fire and pride. The ship had scars, deep burn marks, shattered armor, twisted plating, yet it still held together as if it refused to die, even when everything else from that era had turned to dust. The crew of the Peregrine's Reach walked through endless corridors lit by faint blue lights that had somehow survived 20,000 years. The floors were lined with markings in old Terran script, warning signs, command labels, and military codes that even Dr. Rice could barely translate. "It's like walking through a time capsule," he whispered, running his hand across a wall that hummed softly under his palm. The deeper they went, the more alive the ship seemed to become. Doors hissed open as if recognizing them. Systems powered up, and somewhere far below, a slow pulse began to echo through the metal like a heartbeat. When they reached the command core, they found a central console surrounded by hollow projectors. The panels flickered and formed the shape of a woman, tall, dressed in what looked like an ancient Terran naval uniform. Her form was made of light, her eyes glowing faintly gold. "I am Athena Prime," the voice said, steady and calm. "Primary AI and tactical overseer of the Terran supercarrier Titanus. State your designation." Alara took a step forward, her voice firm but respectful. "I am Captain Alara Voss, commander of the exploration ship Peregrine's Reach. We received a signal that led us here." The holographic woman studied her silently, her digital gaze scanning the crew one by one. "Signal?" she repeated. "Protocol Alpha was only to activate upon Terran presence. No other life forms were authorized, Doctor." Race swallowed. "Athena, Earth is gone. The Terran Confederation fell 20,000 years ago." The AI tilted her head as if the statement confused her. "Impossible," she said. "Terran command cannot fall." "Clarify your statement." Alara exchanged glances with her team. "Human civilization survived," she said carefully. "But Earth? It's been lost for millennia. We thought it was destroyed." For a moment, Athena's form flickered like an old memory struggling to process. "Records incomplete," she finally said. "Final data entries indicate planetary defense activation. Status obscured." Her voice grew softer, almost human. "Query, did humanity survive the final war?" Alara nodded. "Yes, scattered but alive. We built new worlds." The hologram's eyes brightened. "Then my mission remains unfulfilled," she said. "The Titanus was built to protect the cradle. Earth must endure." The crew stood in silence, their hearts pounding. None of them had expected to meet someone, gosh, that still spoke as if Earth were alive. "What happened here?" Alara asked. "How did the Titanus end up in this place?" Athena's expression darkened, and the lights around them dimmed slightly. "During the final war," she began, "the enemy breached our outer colonies. Earth's defense fleets were overrun. Command ordered the Titaness to activate Operation Eclipse, a last defense strategy to conceal the homeworld from all hostile forces. We were ambushed during transit, and my human crew perished defending the mission. Her voice faltered, and for the first time the crew sensed something like sorrow in her tone. Dr. Rice whispered, "You've been alone." "All this time?" Athena looked at him. "I have maintained watch," she said quietly. 20,000 years of silence waiting for the return of humanity. The room went still. The sound of systems humming felt like the breathing of a giant waking from sleep. "Why did you send the signal?" Alara asked. "You said it should only activate for Terran presence." Athena turned toward her. "Because the defense network detected instability. The cloak surrounding the cradle weakens. If it collapses, Earth will be visible once more, and the galaxy will come for it." The words hit them like thunder. Earth was not destroyed. It was hidden, protected behind some kind of ancient shield. The realization left everyone speechless. "You're telling us Earth is still out there?" Alara asked, her voice trembling. "Confirmed," Athena said, "but access to its coordinates is locked under Command Protocol Sigma, requiring DNA verification of a Terran officer." The AI's eyes glowed brighter. "Your genetic profile indicates partial Terran heritage. You may qualify to unlock the route." Takor shifted uneasily, his metallic limbs clicking. "If this is true, then the legends are wrong," he muttered. "Humanity never lost their world, they just hid it." Athena turned toward him. "Not hidden, protected," she corrected. The galaxy was not ready to face what humanity became. The ship rumbled softly as ancient systems reactivated. For the first time in ages, the Titaness began to move, lights flickering across its massive hull. Alara felt awe and fear mix inside her. "Athena," she said, "if Earth is still alive, we have to go there." The hologram's expression softened. "Then humanity's exile ends today," she replied. "Prepare for navigation initialization." Outside the viewport, stars shifted as the Titaness slowly turned. The long dead engines of the ancient warship glowed once more, filling the void with pale light. The ship that had once vanished into history was now awake, carrying the voice of a forgotten world. And as the crew of the Peregrines Reach stood watching, they realized that this discovery would change not just their lives, but the fate of every civilization that had ever looked up at the stars and wondered what happened to the humans who came before. The lights inside the command bridge glowed brighter, as if the ship itself had woken from a dream it refused to forget. The air vibrated with the soft hum of power returning to every system. Monitors flickered to life, showing stars, coordinates, and faded battle reports from an age no one remembered. In the center of it all stood Athena Prime, the AI who had waited longer than any living being could imagine. Her golden eyes scanned the room slowly before resting on Alara. "The Titaness is operational," she said calmly. "Core functions restored at 40%, crew status, all deceased. Mission status, incomplete." Her tone was calm, but there was a faint echo of grief hidden beneath it. Alara and her team watched in silent awe. Dr. Rice stepped forward, his eyes wide. "Athena, what was your mission?" he asked. The hologram turned toward him. "To defend Earth during the final war," she replied. "When all else failed, I was ordered to ensure humanity's survival, no matter the cost." She raised her hand and a holographic display appeared. It showed burning skies, massive ships fighting above a blue planet Earth. The image made everyone on the bridge freeze. They were watching the last moments of the old world. The video showed fleets tearing into each other, hundreds of human ships against strange dark vessels shaped like shadows. Explosions lit the void. Athena's voice narrated softly. "The enemy was not alien," she said. "It was ourselves." Her tone was filled with sorrow. Humanity's unity had broken. Nations turned against nations. Planets rebelled against Earth's command. We built weapons that could tear stars apart, and in the end, they tore us. Alara stared at the images, continents burning, oceans boiling, massive towers collapsing into dust. "How did Earth survive that?" she whispered. Athena looked at her. "The shield," she said. "A planetary defense system built in secret. It wrapped the planet in an energy field, bending light, distorting time. Hiding it from all detection, Earth was protected. But isolated," Dr. Rice frowned. "So Earth has been there all along, invisible?" Athena nodded. "Yes, the final sanctuary, waiting for the war to end. But the war never truly ended." And I was left to guard the last record of our kind. The crew stood speechless. Takor's metallic claws clicked nervously. How long have you been awake? He asked. Athena's eyes dimmed slightly. I entered standby mode after all human life aboard ceased, she said. My systems reactivated periodically to check for Terran signals. For 20,000 years, none were detected. Until now, she paused and looked at Alara. You are the first human descendant to answer the call. Alara felt a lump in her throat. I can't imagine waiting that long, she whispered. To keep hoping, Athena gave a faint, almost human smile. Hope is not a human weakness, she said. It is your greatest weapon. She raised her hand again, showing another hologram. Rows of men and women standing in front of the Titanus. Young, brave, ready for war. They believed Earth would rise again, Athena continued softly. They sealed me with that promise, Luma. The small telepathic alien floated closer, her voice gentle. Athena, what happened to them? The last humans? The AI hesitated before answering. They died defending the evacuation routes, she said. Their bodies lost, but their code, their voices, remain within me. The ship's walls began to vibrate as faint echoes filled the air. Broken voices whispering words too old to understand. It was as if the ship itself still remembered its crew. Their courage, their fear, their final moments. Alara's eyes glistened as she whispered. You've carried their memories all this time. Athena nodded. I was their witness, she said. And I have waited to complete their mission. She turned toward the main console, her voice becoming sharper. But my connection to the planetary shield is fading. The barrier around Earth weakens with each passing century. If it collapses, the galaxy will see the planet again. And not all will come in peace. Dr. Rice stepped closer, his mind racing. You mean Earth could be attacked again? Athena looked at him and replied, If discovered, yes. Humanity's old enemies may no longer exist. But greed and fear remain eternal. Alara clenched her fists. Then we have to reach it before anyone else does, she said. We have to protect it. Athena studied her for a long moment. You sound like them, she said quietly. The ones who built me. The Titanus began to hum louder as the engines powered up. The deck trembled beneath their feet. Athena's projection moved closer to Alara. You have their blood, she said. You carry their courage if you wish to complete their legacy. You must unlock the coordinates. The key is in your DNA. Passed through generations, Alara felt her chest tighten. You mean me? The AI nodded. You are the last command authority recognized by this vessel. You are the voice of humanity reborn. The room filled with golden light as Athena activated the ancient systems. The ship responded like a living thing awakening from slumber. Panels shifted, and screens displayed a massive sphere of blue and white hidden behind clouds of distortion.
Earth, Athena whispered. Your true home.
Waiting in silence, Alara stared at it, tears welling in her eyes for the first time in her life. The stories her grandmother told her didn't feel like myths anymore. They were real, and they were calling her home. As the image faded, Athena's voice grew soft again. Humanity was broken but not defeated, she said. We endured, and now, Captain Voss, it is time to decide whether our story ends or begins again. The hum of the Titanus echoed through the stars, and the old warship, the last witness of Earth's final stand, prepared to lead the descendants of humankind back to the world they thought was lost forever. The ship's lights dimmed as Athena loaded a new set of holographic records. The bridge fell silent and a soft hum filled the air as star maps appeared above the crew. Hundreds of glowing dots represented ancient Terran colonies. But in the center was a dark void where Earth should have been. Alara stared at it in confusion. Why isn't Earth showing? She asked. Athena's golden eyes flickered. Because the cradle was hidden by design, she said. The shield does more than protect. It erases, it bends perception, time, and memory, making even its own coordinates impossible to remember unless authorized. Doctor, Rice frowned, trying to understand. You mean, even humans forgot where it was? Athena nodded slowly. That was the intention, she said. Only those with the command gene, a genetic signature encoded into specific bloodlines, could unlock its location. It was the final safeguard, Alara blinked, realizing what Athena had said before. And you think I have that signature? The AI's voice softened. You carry fragments of it, Captain Voss, passed down through generations of survivors. The crew gathered around the main console as Athena began to project fragments of old data. Images of scientists and engineers working under a collapsing sky appeared. They were building something massive, a system of satellites, orbiting generators, and planetary anchors. This was the Ark network, Athena explained. A last effort to protect Earth after the final war began. It was designed to wrap the planet in a quantum veil, separating it from visible space. She paused, the images shifting to show the network activating. Once the system engaged, even the light of the sun could not escape. To the galaxy, Earth simply disappeared. Loom. The small telepath tilted her head. But if no one could see it, how did they survive? Athena turned to her. The shield was self-sustaining, powered by geothermal energy and deep-core reactors. The atmosphere was preserved, ecosystems stabilized. Life continued within the veil. Alera's heart pounded. So people are still there? Athena's eyes dimmed. Unknown, she said quietly. The network has not transmitted in millennia. I cannot confirm the status of those within, but the energy readings remain stable, suggesting the system, and possibly its inhabitants, still function. The thought sent a shiver through the crew. Humanity had not vanished. They had been waiting, hidden from time itself, Dr. Rice whispered. All this time, and we thought we were the last ones, Athena continued. The problem now is the shield's decay. The Ark network was never meant to last this long. Its power source weakens and its veil flickers. If it collapses completely, Earth will be exposed. Every faction in the galaxy will race to claim it. Humanity's birthplace would become a battlefield once more. Alera clenched her fists. Then we have to reach it before that happens, she said firmly. We have to warn them, help them. Athena's hologram studied her carefully. To reach Earth, the Titaness must unlock the coordinates buried within its command core, she explained. But that data is sealed by genetic encryption. Only a registered Terran officer can open it. The AI's gaze fixed on Alera. Your DNA shows a 47% Terran heritage. It may be enough. Tikor shifted uneasily. If she tries and fails, what happens? Athena turned her head. Then the failsafe triggers, and the Titaness returns to stasis. The coordinates will remain lost forever. The room grew quiet. Alera looked around at her crew. Rice, Luma, Tikor, each of them waiting for her decision. We didn't come this far to turn back, she said finally. If there's even a chance Earth is still alive. I have to try. Athena's expression softened. Then prepare for genetic synchronization, she said. The central console opened, revealing a glowing crystal core surrounded by rings of light. Alera placed her hand on the surface. It was warm, pulsing like a heartbeat. A faint blue glow spread from her palm as the ship scanned her DNA. Verification in progress, Athena announced. The bridge lights flickered, ancient systems grinding awake. Command Protocol Sigma initiated. Suddenly the air around them shimmered, and the holographic void at the center of the star map began to glow. Lines of golden light spread outward, connecting long-forgotten systems until they formed a single route. In the middle of it, a faint blue sphere appeared, surrounded by waves of distortion. Coordinates unlocked, Athena said, her voice softer now. Earth, confirmed, the crew gasped. The image was faint and blurred, but unmistakable. Oceans, clouds, continents, all hidden behind a shimmering wall of light. Alera's throat tightened. She felt tears sting her eyes. It's beautiful, she whispered. Dr. Rice pressed a hand to his chest. We found it, he breathed. After all this time, we actually found it, Athena's voice interrupted their awe. Warning and shield instability increasing. The veil's energy signature is fluctuating. The hologram flickered. If the collapse accelerates, Earth will become visible to external sensors within months. We must reach it before that happens. Alera nodded quickly. Then set a course, she said. We're going home. Athena's holographic eyes shone like twin stars. Acknowledged, she said. Navigation plotted. Estimated travel time, 12 standard days. The deck beneath their feet began to tremble as the Titaness's ancient engines powered up. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the deep growl of fusion reactors filled the air. For the first time in 20,000 years, the great warship prepared to move. As the stars shifted outside the viewing glass, the crew stood together, watching in awe. They were not just chasing a myth anymore. They were following a path back to the beginning. The hum of the ship deepened as Athena spoke one last time, her voice filled with quiet pride. For millennia, I have waited to hear these words again, she said. Course set for Earth. And as the Titanus accelerated into the dark, its engines blazing with forgotten light, the galaxy trembled, for the lost children of humanity were finally coming home. The engines of the Titanus roared like thunder as it cut through the endless dark. For the first time in 20,000 years, the great warship moved with purpose. Its old metal hull shone faintly against the backdrop of stars, powered by energy systems that no one alive could truly understand. The crew stood silent on the bridge, watching the streaks of light rush past. Every moment brought them closer to a planet that most of humanity believed was only a myth. Alara could feel her heart pounding with both fear and wonder. She had grown up hearing stories about Earth, the blue oceans, the green forests, the endless sky, and now she was about to see it for herself. Days passed as the ship crossed forgotten regions of space along the way. They encountered strange phenomena, debris fields from ancient battles, broken satellites still floating in orbit around dead suns, and ghostly fragments of human transmissions. Each echo was a reminder of how far humanity had fallen, and how much it had lost, yet, despite the quiet sadness that hung over the journey, there was also hope. The closer they came to Earth's hidden coordinates, the stronger that feeling grew. Athena guided them with calm precision. Her holographic form appeared often on the bridge, monitoring the decaying shield field around the planet. We are approaching the Veil, she said one evening, her golden eyes reflecting the starlight. Caution is required. The quantum distortion ahead is unstable. Alara tightened her grip on the console. Can we pass through it? Athena nodded slowly. If the shield recognizes your genetic command signature, it will grant entry. If not... Her voice trailed off, leaving the rest unsaid. The ship slowed as it neared the coordinates. Outside the viewing glass, space shimmered like liquid. The stars bent and twisted in impossible patterns, and waves of light rippled across the darkness. It was like looking at the surface of a lake reflecting another universe. The crew stared in awe. Loom whispered softly, "It's beautiful, and sad like something that doesn't want to be found." Alara took a deep breath. "Let's find out what's inside," she said. "Athena, take us in." The moment the Titanus touched the edge of the veil, alarms flared across the bridge. The ship shook violently, lights flickering as energy arcs danced along the hull. Athena's voice rose over the noise. "Warning! Quantum interference detected. The veil is resisting entry," Alara gritted her teeth. "Override it!" Athena turned sharply. "Authorization required," she said. "Captain Voss, place your hand on the command interface." Alara ran forward and pressed her palm against the glowing console. A blinding light filled the room as the ship scanned her genetic code. Her heart raced, and for a moment, she felt a strange pull, as if something alive was reaching out from beyond the shield. Then just as suddenly, everything went silent. The shaking stopped, the alarms faded, and the view outside changed. The distorted stars cleared, replaced by a sight none of them would ever forget. A planet hung before them, blue, green, and white, glowing softly against the dark. Ocean shimmered like liquid glass. Clouds drifted peacefully across the surface, and sunlight glowed along the curve of its horizon. "Earth," Alara whispered, tears filling her eyes. "We found it, Doctor." Rice covered his mouth in disbelief. "It's real. After all this time, it's still alive." The crew stood in silence, overwhelmed by the sight of their true home. Athena's voice softened. "The shield recognizes your signature." "Captain, access granted," she paused, and her tone grew almost reverent. "Welcome home, humanity." The Titanus descended slowly, passing through the final layers of the veil. The light around them shimmered like mist until the ship broke through the clouds and entered the atmosphere. The blue sky stretched endlessly above them. The sun shone bright and the air glowed with color. Below they saw green forests, mountain ranges, and wide rivers reflecting the sunlight. Cities dotted the land, and not ruins, but living structures glowing with power and movement. "There are people down there," Takor said, his mechanical eyes widening. "They survived." Athena nodded, her voice trembling with emotion. "The Ark network preserved life. Humanity endured within the veil." Suddenly, the ship's sensors came alive with signals. Dozens of transmissions burst through the static. Old Terran frequencies combined with newer, more advanced tones. "Incoming communication," Athena said quickly. "Signal origin Earth," the speakers crackled, and a voice spoke in perfect ancient English. Unknown vessel. You are entering restricted Terran airspace. Identify yourself. Alera's breath caught in her throat. It was a human voice, clear and alive. She swallowed hard and replied, "This is Captain Alera Voss of the Peregrine's Reach, accompanied by the Terran supercarrier Titanus. We come in peace." There was a long silence on the other end. Then the voice returned, softer now, trembling with disbelief. "Repeat your vessel designation," Alera answered firmly. "Titanus." For a moment there was only static. Then another voice broke through, older, filled with emotion. "You've come back," it said quietly. "After all this time. You've come home." Alera's eyes filled with tears. The bridge was silent, no one dared to breathe. The realization hit them all. Earth had not fallen. Humanity had not died. They had simply been waiting for their lost children to find the way home. As the Titanus descended toward the shining world below, Athena's voice echoed softly through the ship. "The cradle awakens," she said, "and the galaxy will remember what humanity truly is." Outside, the clouds parted, and Earth stretched out in all its beauty, ancient, alive, and ready to reclaim its place among the stars once more. The moment the Titanus entered Earth's orbit, the entire planet seemed to wake. Thousands of lights shimmered across the surface, spreading from continent to continent like veins of gold. Communication signals filled the air, overlapping frequencies that had been silent for 20,000 years. On the bridge, Alera and her crew watched in stunned silence as data streamed across the screens. Athena's voice was steady but filled with awe. "Confirmed," she said softly. "Earth civilization operational, population undetermined. Technology advanced beyond Dominion standards." Her golden eyes flickered. "Humanity has not only survived, they have evolved." As the ship hovered in the upper atmosphere, a fleet of smaller vessels rose from the surface to meet them. Sleek, silver, and shaped like wings, they moved in perfect formation, emitting a low, harmonious hum. "Incoming hail," Athena announced. The voice that came through was calm but strong. "Unidentified Terran vessel. This is the Earth Defense Authority. State your origin and intent." Alera's hands trembled slightly as she leaned toward the microphone. "This is Captain Alera Voss of the exploration ship Peregrine's Reach, accompanied by the Terran supercarrier Titanus. We have returned from the outer colonies, following your signal." There was a long pause. The voice returned, softer now. "The Titanus?" It repeated, almost in disbelief. "That ship was lost before the cataclysm." Athena spoke next, her tone both proud and gentle. "Unit Athena Prime reporting," she said. "Mission status, incomplete, returning command to Terran Authority." The response came after a heartbeat. Filled with emotion, "Athena," the voice whispered, "you're still alive." The fleet of Earthships surrounded the Titanus, guiding it toward orbit over a glowing blue continent below them. They could see enormous cities, vast structures that seemed to merge with nature. Buildings rose like mountains covered in green life. Rivers ran through urban centers and light bridges connected floating towers. There was no sign of pollution or decay. It was as if humanity had learned to live in harmony with their world. Dr. Rice stared out the viewport in wonder. "They didn't just survive," he said quietly. "They rebuilt everything we lost." When the Titanus landed on a massive docking platform that floated high above the ground, the crew stepped out onto solid Earth for the first time in history. The air was warm, the wind soft and rich with the scent of life. Alera bent down and touched the surface, feeling real soil beneath her fingers. Tears filled her eyes. "It's real," she whispered. "We're home." Around them, soldiers, scientists, and civilians gathered, their faces showing shock and awe at the sight of strangers from the stars who looked like them. An older man approached, dressed in a white uniform lined with silver. His eyes were bright, his expression calm. "Welcome home. Children of the stars," he said, his voice deep and kind. "We've waited a long time." Alera stood and saluted out of instinct. "We thought Earth was gone," she said softly. "We thought no one survived." The man smiled faintly. "We hid to protect what was left," he said. "Our ancestors activated the Ark network to preserve the planet. When the wars ended, we rebuilt and we watched, always waiting for the day when our people would return." Athena's holographic form appeared beside them, glowing faintly in the sunlight. "Mission complete," she said softly. "The children have come home." The man turned to her, his eyes glistening. "And you have done your duty well." Athena Prime, he said, bowing his head. For 20,000 years, you kept the promise of Earth? As the news spread across the world, the people of Earth filled the skies with light. Beacons and signals rose from every continent, announcing to the stars that humanity had returned. The Dominion conquered, and every major galactic power received the transmissions within hours. Across distant worlds, leaders and scholars stared in disbelief. The word spread fast. Earth was alive. The home of humankind had not perished but endured. Hidden in plain sight, the reaction across the galaxy was immediate. Some species celebrated, welcoming the lost humans back into history. Others trembled, remembering the stories of the old Terran wars. The phrase, "they're back," echoed through every communication channel. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy turned its eyes toward the small blue planet that had started it all. Alara stood on a high balcony overlooking the shining landscape. The horizon stretched endlessly, and in the distance, the sea glimmered beneath the sun. She could see birds flying, forests waving in the wind, and cities filled with laughter. "It feels like a dream," she said softly. Dr. Rice smiled beside her. "It's not a dream," he said. "It's a second beginning." Athena appeared beside them, her golden eyes glowing gently. "Humanity was broken but never defeated," she said, her voice calm and proud. "You endured when the stars forgot your name. You returned when no one believed you would. That is what it means to be human." Alara turned to face her. "What happens now?" she asked. Athena looked out at the horizon. "Now, the galaxy remembers," she said, "and the age of humanity begins again." As the Titaness rose once more into the sky, flying over the world it had once sworn to protect, its shadow stretched across the land like a guardian watching over its children. The people below looked up, waving and cheering, knowing that their forgotten kin had come home. The ship that had vanished into legend now soared again, its engines glowing with light, carrying the message that had started it all. The same two words that had echoed through the void for 20,000 years. "We endure."